Sahara, vast, silent. It seems to watch us through the ages, saying nothing, yet forgetting nothing. It looks empty, a dead land ruled by wind and sand, endless dunes and sun-scorched rocks. But how often are the emptiest places on Earth, the ones hiding the greatest secrets? Humanity has long viewed deserts as hopeless, sterile, unfit for life. But what if that is only the modern wrapping of a deeper story? What if the Sahara is not a place of death, but a place of forgetting? The scale of this desert is hard to grasp. Covering over 9 million square kilometers, it is larger than the contiguous United States. It spans most of North Africa, stretching from the Atlantic Ocean in the west to the Red Sea in the east, crossing 11 modern countries. But above all, it changes. The sand constantly moves. What is buried today may emerge tomorrow. What is known now may vanish beneath the dust. This is a living organism. It breathes in a rhythm that does not match ours. At times, it seems to wait for the moment when humans will once again look at it not as scorched earth, but as a keeper of memory. Because somewhere beneath this surface lie traces that suggest we do not know ourselves, that we have forgotten who we were, and perhaps the Sahara holds the key. This is not mere fantasy. Today, science confirms that this desert was not always a desert. Thousands of years ago, it had rivers, large lakes, dense forests, and people. Not just nomads with camels, but societies who painted cave walls with scenes of everyday life, hunting, swimming, rituals. Where did they all go? Why? How? Was it just the climate? Some believe the Sahara remembers a time when the world was different, that beneath its surface lie the remains not of lost tribes, but of entire civilizations that vanished as mysteriously as Atlantis. And that these civilizations knew something we do not, that they developed differently, perhaps along a path lost to us. Archaeology does not yet offer clear answers. Which is why the Sahara attracts not just scientists, but dreamers, seekers, truth hunters. Many call this land uninhabitable. Then how do we explain the countless traces of ancient activity spotted via satellite? What are these structures that show up on infrared scan patterns resembling city plans or megalithic foundations? Why does official science dismiss them as natural formations? And most importantly, what is still there, where we haven't looked? Some things lie beyond conventional theory. Like the Richat Structurea, massive circular formation over 40 kilometers wide, visible only from high above. Geologists say it's erosion. But its perfect symmetry, its concentric rings, its scale all beg questions. Even more intriguing is how closely it resembles Plato's description of Atlantis. Could he have known about the Sahara? Or is the tale of the sunken civilization not a myth at all, but collective memory of a real event? And if so, what else have we erased from history? Perhaps, right here, in the heart of the desert, lies the answer. Not in libraries, not in labs, not in data clouds, but in the stone, in the sand. In the remnants of something we haven't named, in silence that says more than any document, because the Sahara is an archive, one without pages, titles, or authors. But with millennia of silence, waiting to be decoded. So the next time you look at a map and see the Sahara, don't think of it as a desert. Think of it as a mystery, a page from a book humanity forgot to reread. And maybe, now is the time to open it again. When we look at the Sahara today, it's hard to imagine it once teemed with life. But the evidence is undeniable. This vast desert, where no garden could survive today, was once green, fertile, and full of water. Massive lakes, flowing rivers, trees, savannas, animals, and humans all of it existed. But when and why did it vanish? How many forgotten pages lie in Earth's history, pages we take as fixed reality, not knowing we're only looking at fragments of a much deeper mosaic? It all begins around 12,000 to 13,000 years ago. The Earth was emerging from the last ice age. The climate changed, glaciers melted, sea levels rose. Africa came to life. Regions that had been semi-arid bloomed once again. This phenomenon is known as the African humid period, a time when the Sahara was green. It lasted for thousands of years. And curiously, it wasn't a one-time event. Every few tens of thousands of years, the desert transforms into lush terrain, and then back again. This is confirmed through dust analysis, soil layers, sediment from ancient lakes and seas. Picture this. Instead of dunes, vast rivers stretching hundreds of kilometers. Trees casting shade. Animals resembling modern giraffes, elephants, hippos. People building shelters, farming, creating vivid artwork on cave wall scenes of hunting, dancing, harvests, rituals. Is this fiction? A hoax? Number? It's a reality that defies our notion of the Sahara as eternally barren. But why did things change? One explanation is Earth's orbit. Its tilt, eccentricity, and precession affect monsoons that bring moisture inland. When the planet tilts a certain way, monsoons intensify and moisture reaches North Africa. But these processes are slow spanning millennia. So why did the Sahara turn into desert so quickly? That's the mystery. Research shows that around 5,500 years ago, the landscape began changing dramatically. Lakes dried up, soils cracked, the climate grew arid, vegetation disappeared. And this happened over just a few centuries. That's remarkably fast for a natural climate shift. So what happened? This is where theories move beyond standard geography. Some scientists believe deforestation by humans may have triggered a cascade. Others point to orbital changes combined with global events, volcanic eruptions, methane releases, or even cosmic impacts. Still, others suggest something more speculative. The collapse of an ancient civilization with technologies we can't yet comprehend. That it wasn't nature that destroyed people, but people who destroyed nature and, with it, themselves. Mainstream science is cautious with such claims, but how else do we explain the remains of artificial canals, dams, located in places now completely dry, structured in ways that suggest sophisticated engineering? Imagine, in the heart of the Sahara, researchers found remains of ancient hydrological systems capable of regulating water. Why? For whom? And when? Then there are the so-called megalithic objects scattered across the desert stone structures that don't align with known African traditions. Many resemble observatories. Their alignment with stars, equinoxes, solstices suggests they were built with astronomical knowledge. But in the desert? For what? Maybe the answer lies in nature itself. Over centuries, the green Sahara dried up. People were forced to migrate south, east, north. They carried knowledge, myths, language. Civilization didn't vanish, it dispersed. It merged with new peoples, who became the roots of Egypt, Carthage, even Europe. But the roots remain in the sand. And when we see ancient depictions of people rowing boats across lakes in central Saharas, staring at history that was silenced. And maybe even more. Maybe these green waves of the Sahara are just symptoms of something greater. Pole shifts, cyclical disasters, repeating collapses and rebirths. In that case, the Sahara isn't just a region, it's a planetary indicator. Its heart. When it blooms, it's a signal. When it dies, it's a warning. We tend to think history moves forward. But what if it loops? What if we're just the next turn of the spiral? And what if the previous turn left its traces right in front of using sand we think is dead? Amid endless sands, in the most remote mountains of the Sahara where modern travelers see only desertsolence and wind guard the memory of another life. Where there's no water, no trees, where the sun scorches even stone, ancient art galleries hide in the rocks. Petroglyphs of thousands of carved and painted images form a library of the past. But who made them? And what are they trying to tell us? Saharan art is not abstract. It's vivid, detailed, full of movement. People dancing, performing rituals, hunting, domesticating animals. The figures show not fantasies but real beings: buffalo, giraffes, rhinos, antelope, crocodiles, even fish. What seems impossible in today's desert was once normal. The most famous site is Tassili Najer in Algeria, true Louvre of the desert. To reach it takes days by camel and foot. Even in the most remote corners, the artwork remains precise. It speaks of more than a tribe of hunters. It speaks of a society with culture, religion, a cosmic worldview. Some researchers see this art as the clearest window into the Green Sahara. It reveals not just landscapes but lifestyles. Some figures wear strange headgear or masks. What are these? Religious icons? Astronomical symbols? Or, as alternative historians propose, depictions of something more technical? Some figures have oversized heads, others wear suits resembling space gear. One famous figure, the Great Martian God, or Tassili alien, has large eyes, no mouth, and a suit unknown to any tribal tradition. Skeptics say it's ritual costume. But the volume of such depictions raises questions. What's more, the rock art isn't random. It follows stages, loosely grouped into periods. The era of hunters, then herders, then cattle keepers, and finally symbolic abstract art. Over time, style and theme shift from daily life to encoded meaning, a transition from realism to metaphysics. Perhaps not just artistic evolution, but a change in worldview as if they foresaw a coming catastrophe. Some Saharan rock art includes astronomical elements, circles, lines resembling star maps. Some stones are arranged to mark solstices. If proven, it would mean this civilization observed the sky long before writing emerged. But then who were they, and why did they disappear? One theory suggests that as the Sahara dried, its people migrated to the Nile Valley, becoming ancestors of the Egyptians. There are stylistic similarities between some petroglyphs and early Egyptian symbols. If true, Egypt didn't arise from nothing. It inherited the legacy of a forgotten desert culture. And the mysterious knowledge of ancient Egypt may not have originated there but was preserved. Archaeology adds weight. Remains of dwellings, pottery, tools, and jewelry reveal a sophisticated culture. More astonishing, most sites are now buried. Satellite images show rectangular patterns, possibly ruins, but the desert resists exploration. Heat, no roads, political instability. Many areas remain off limits. Yet what lies beneath? Could it be answers that would change everything? We often think of art as internal expression, but Saharan rock art is more than that. It's encrypted memory, a record of a different climate, landscape, and humanity. Though we interpret it through today's lens, it still whispers from stone. We were here, we saw, we knew. Deep in Mauritania, in a barren land with no trees or rivers, lies a mysterious geological formation so unique that it's visible from space. Known as the Richat Structure, the Eye of the Sahara spans more than 40 kilometers in diameter. With its massive concentric rings, it seems almost artificial. For decades, it has captured the imagination of geologists, historians, and alternative theorists alike. Some say it's a natural formation. Others believe it's the remnants of an ancient city. And some go even further, claiming it could be the true location of Atlantis. Plato described Atlantis in his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, as a city built on concentric circles of land and water. At its center stood the Acropolis. Canals and moats surrounded it in perfect geometry. His account never gave a precise geographic location, yet when one compares Plato's description to satellite images of the Richat, the resemblance is uncanny. 3 main rings, a central area once possibly an island, the approximate size and location in northwest Africa. These coincidences have fueled speculation that Atlantis didn't sink into the sea but was swallowed by sand. The scientific explanation labels Richat a symmetrical anticline formed by uplift and erosion over 100 million years. End of story? Not quite. Satellite images show ancient dry riverbeds leading toward the Atlantic, suggesting that during the Green Sahara era, water may have flowed through this region. If so, a powerful civilization could have once thrived here. Few archaeological excavations have been done within the Richat itself. The site is remote, infrastructure is lacking, and political instability limits research. Yet artifacts, stone tools, pottery, remains of dwellings found nearby confirm ancient human presence. But who were these people? Could they have built a city like the one Plato described? Another point. Rishat's location matches the general direction ancient Egyptian priests might have traveled when passing the Atlantis tale to Solon, and eventually to Plato. There were indeed ancient trade and migration routes from Egypt to West Africa, so maybe the Atlantis story is not pure fiction, but a cultural echo of a vanished Saharan civilization. Some believe the sinking of Atlantis was metaphorical. It wasn't water that drowned it, but sand. As the climate rapidly changed, rivers dried, rains stopped, and over centuries, a great people vanished. Only traces remainings etched into Earth's skin, visible only from the sky. Others think Risha might be part of an ancient geoengineering project. Its rings may have helped manage water or weather, or symbolize sacred cosmology. African myths mention a center of the world, a circle of ancestors. Could this be it? Even without myth, Richad is a mystery. Its study has barely begun. Perhaps under the sand lie ruins, roads, or temples. Saharacon of drought, heat, and endless dunes. But what if this desert hides something far more mysterious? What if its dry surface masks an ancient realitia, network of rivers, lakes, springs, and massive underground water arteries that still flow long after the surface turned to dust? And what if these waters are more than geology? They're remnants of a once thriving ecosystem, maybe even a lost civilization. Scientists have long known about vast aquifers beneath the Sahara. The most famous is the Nubian sandstone aquifer systemone of Earth's largest freshwater reserves, containing over 150,000 cubic kilometers of water beneath Chad, Egypt, Sudan, and Libya. But how did such an immense volume of water end up under one of the driest places on Earth, and when? The answer lies in Earth's geological memory. The Sahara, as we know it today, is recent. Just 10,000 years ago, it was green, filled with savannas, swamps, rivers. This African humid period brought regular rainfall and mild weather. Rivers flowed, lakes dotted the land, and even forests grew. Petroglyphs of giraffes, hippos, and crocodiles in today's driest regions prove this watery past. As the climate changed, everything vanished. Rivers dried up, vegetation died, animals left. But water that had seeped underground remained, forming vast subterranean lakes. Even today, some of these still slowly flow, hidden but alive beneath the sands. In the 1950s, drilling in southern Libya revealed pressurized jets of water erupting from the ground remnants of ancient underground rivers. The water was cold, pure, and abundant, inspiring Libya's ambitious Great Man-Made River project to irrigate the desert. But there are stranger tales. Satellite studies have detected dry riverbeds invisible to the naked eye. Central Sahara hides extensive networks resembling natural river systems stretching for hundreds of kilometers and linking now barren zones to once coastal regions. This suggests Sahara once had a complex hydrological network, possibly comparable to the Amazon basin. So, were these systems used by people? And if so, were they? Some theorists believe these rivers were more than resources. They were transport routes or sacred spaces. In African mythology, water is often linked with the afterlife. Spirits of ancestors were believed to dwell underground, in rivers, lakes, even entire hidden cities. Some Sahelian legends speak of subterranean kingdoms, lost when the sun stole the water. One theory suggests that as the desertification began, some people adapted by going underground. Perhaps they survived in moisture-rich caves. This idea, though fantastical, has some basis. In certain regions, caves appear artificially enlarged, with walls inscribed with glyphs and mysterious patterns defying easy interpretation. Adding intrigue are modern techniques like ground-penetrating radar. In the 2020s, researchers discovered large subterranean chambers in northern Chad and southern Libya. These rooms have geometric regularity, possibly artificial. They lie near ancient dry riverbeds, suggesting a link to ancient hydraulic systems or hidden water caches. All this implies Sahara was more than green. It may have been the heart of a water-focused civilization. Perhaps its gods dwelled underground. Its rivers ran below, not above. Today, the desert conceals not just billions of gallons of water, but countless untold stories. The more we learn about its hidden rivers, the clearer it becomes. Sahara is not dead, it is forgotten. And its underground waters still flow, silently holding the memory of a world where life once ran beneath the sands, under pressure, under time, still waiting to be uncovered. When we think of ancient structures, images of majestic Egyptian pyramids, Mesopotamian temples, or European megaliths come to mind. Yet, the Sahara, the world's largest desert, holds its own architectural mysteries, challenging our perceptions of time and human civilization scale. These stone structures scattered across the desert are not mere ruins, but giant megaliths encoded with many secrets and unanswered questions. Reports about Sahara's megalithic structures began in the 19th century, when European explorers documented strange stone complexes resembling human-made constructs. They encountered large stone slabs arranged in circles, semicircles, or mound-like shapes. Later, stone walls, platforms, labyrinths, and colossal monolithic blocks weighing tens of tons were discovered in various parts of the desert. In southern Algeria's Tassili Niger Plateau and Morocco's Toubkal region, archaeologists found numerous megalithic structures unlike any known elsewhere in Africa. They date back from 8,000 to 4,000 BCE, placing them among Earth's oldest human-made structures. This question sparks major debate. The oldest Egyptian pyramids date to around 2,700 BCE, Old Kingdom. But if Sahara's megaliths date between 8,000 4,000 BCE, they could be 2-3 times older. This fundamentally changes the history of human development. Scientific evidence, radiocarbon dating, stratigraphy, paleoclimate studies confirm the antiquity of these structures. However, their purpose remains disputed. Most scholars believe they served religious or cultic functions, possibly connected to water or celestial worship. These structures are unique not just by age but design. Often aligned with cardinal directions, they exhibit complex geometry. Some even show signs of astronomical observatoriuses, if ancient people observed stars and planets when building these stone complexes. A hypothesis suggests megaliths served as beacons or navigational markers when Sahara was lush with forests and waterways. They might have helped travelers orient in space and time, pointing to water sources or safe areas. Some structures relate to burials, but not all. Unique finds include stone slabs bearing enigmatic symbols, animal and human images unknown elsewhere. This may indicate a unique culture, evolving in isolation with its own belief system. Recent decades, using high-resolution satellite imagery and AI, have uncovered many megalithic complexes hidden under sand layers. These findings raise new questions. Was Sahara the cradle of ancient civilizations predating Egypt? Could these megaliths be part of a global network of cult centers? Scientists seek answers, but many mysteries remain. Why were these megaliths abandoned? Why did their use cease? Was it climate change forcing people away? Local peoples tell legends of stone giants who once inhabited the desert and built massive structures. One legend claims these giants possessed knowledge to control natural forces, their monuments serving as channels for Earth's energy. Another tells of stone guardians protecting knowledge of water, earth, and sky, passing it to chosen ones. These myths blur fact and fantasy, but add to the megalithic mystery. Sahara's mysterious megaliths inspire writers, artists, and filmmakers. They spawn new theories about human history, offering alternative hypotheses about civilization origins. Some enthusiasts argue megaliths evidence lost knowledge, technologies, and cultures bridging primitive tribes and known ancient states. Sahara is not just the largest desert on the planet, but a unique natural phenomenon that holds thousands of years of mysteries and enigmas. Above all, its climatic changes are striking in their scale and unpredictability. From a green savanna with rivers, lakes, and lush vegetation to endless sand dunes and bare rocks, this transition was the result of a complex interplay of natural cycles, geophysical processes, and even the impact of human activity. Scientists still debate how much the formation of today's Sahara was influenced by global climate fluctuations and how much by local geological events. But one thing is clear: climate change here was neither instantaneous nor linear. It was a process that lasted thousands of years, with each stage leaving its mark in geological layers, archaeological finds, and cultural monuments. Modern technologies allow us to reconstruct the picture of ancient climate with incredible accuracy. Using isotope analysis, satellite data, and modeling of atmospheric and climatic systems, researchers trace how variations in Earth's axial tilt, precession, and changes in solar radiation influence precipitation zones. For example, the relatively wet period lasting from 10,000 to 6,000 years ago is known as the Green Sahara, or the African Humid Period. During this time, life flourished here. There were large lakes, such as Lake Chad, which covered approximately 76,000 square kilometers, as well as river systems that disappeared long before historical civilizations emerged. Archaeological discoveries reveal an incredible world of life, of ancient peoples who lived in this territory. Rock art found in regions such as Tassili Najar and Chatamar shows that large mammals, as well as humans skilled in art, hunting, and agriculture, inhabited these lands. These paintings testify that climate changes do not only destroy, but also create new pathways for human development. However, a sudden onset of drought about 6,000 years ago radically changed life. The humid period ended, lakes dried up, and vegetation disappeared. People were forced to abandon their homes and migrate in search of better conditions. This great migration influenced the history of the region. It spurred cultural and technological development along the Nile and the Mediterranean. Some scholars suggest that this migration contributed to the spread of knowledge and technologies, as well as to conflicts and changes in power in the region. Besides natural causes, there are hypotheses about the impact of human activity on the Sahara's climate. Some researchers argue that early farming and livestock raising could have altered the landscape, promoting soil erosion and reducing vegetation cover, which complicated moisture retention in the soil. This hypothesis remains debated, but opens an interesting perspective on how human-nature interactions could have influenced global processes. Modern Sahara is not just a dry desert, but a complex ecosystem with adapted life forms and a region facing socio-economic problems. Today's climate changes threaten further droughts, expansion of desert areas, and depletion of natural resources. However, thanks to scientific research, ecological programs, and international cooperation, hopes arise for improvement. For instance, projects for tree planting, water conservation systems, and soil restoration aim to slow down desertification processes. The mysteries of the Sahara inspire researchers worldwide, from geologists and climatologists to archaeologists and historians. They remind us of the fragility and dynamism of nature, the close connection between humans and the environment, and that our future largely depends on understanding the past. The Sahara has always been a center of incredible stories, where myths and reality intertwine. Some legends tell of mysterious peoples who once inhabited this land, of a lost paradise where harmony between humans and nature reigned. Others speak of curses that befell those who tried to uncover the desert's secrets. Local tribes pass down tales from generation to generation about spirits and gods guarding ancient treasures hidden beneath the endless sands. These stories have become part of the culture and are perceived not only as tales but as warnings for future generations. References to the Sahara appear in ancient texts of various civilizations. Egyptian papyri describe the desert as a place of power and danger, where the worlds of the living and the dead converge. Greek historians spoke of Amun-Ra, the god of the desert and sun, worshipped by the Bedouins. In Arab legends, the Sahara is a land of jinn and mysterious beings who control the destinies of people. These beliefs shape the perception of the desert as a sacred space where time and space follow different laws. Archaeology occasionally confirms the truth of some legends by uncovering ancient settlements, temples, and artifacts preserved under layers of sand. Especially mysterious are the megalithic structures resembling similar monuments in Egypt and other parts of the world. Their purpose and construction methods still provoke debates among scientists. Some believe they were astronomical observatories. Others think they were religious centers or places of energetic influence. Most striking is the fact that many myths and legends speak of cycles of disappearance and rebirth of the Sahara. According to one theory, the desert has repeatedly turned into a green oasis and then returned to its current harsh state, a natural climate oscillation hidden from human eyes. This gives reason to believe that today's Sahara is just one stage in the planet's long history. The Sahara, with its mysteries, attracts not only scientists, but also adventurers, archaeologists, and treasure seekers. For centuries, many have tried to unravel its secrets, from searching for lost cities to studying strange natural phenomena. Famous expeditions ventured deep into the desert, hoping to find traces of ancient civilizations or artifacts that could shed light on its enigmatic past. Some of these searches ended in success, others remained fruitless, but all added new pages to the history of the Sahara. One of the most studied sites is the mysterious structures in the Sahel region, the area bordering the desert. There, remnants of ancient settlements and buildings have been found where archaeologists uncover unique artifacts indicating a developed culture and trade between different tribes. This confirms that the Sahara was once not only a barrier but also a route for the exchange of ideas and goods. The climatic changes that transformed once fertile land into a desert remain subjects of study. Some researchers suggest that dust and sand emissions into the atmosphere may have influenced global climate processes, altering temperatures and atmospheric circulations far beyond Africa. These processes are closely linked to large global cycles that control the growth and retreat of ice sheets and ocean levels. However, the greatest interest is aroused by mysterious natural phenomena observable in the Sahara today. These include amazing optical illusions, mirage effects, where water illusions appear from hot air, and unique sound phenomena sometimes heard far in the desert. There are also natural stone formations resembling monumental sculptures that continue to generate many legends and speculations. Interest in the Sahara does not fade because it is like a living book preserving pages of the past, revealing new secrets and challenging our knowledge about nature and humanity. Knowledge about this region helps better understand global ecological processes and the role the Earth plays in shaping human history. The Sahara is also home to numerous unique ecosystems adapted to the harsh desert conditions. Although most of the territory seems lifeless, plants and animals live here that can survive with minimal water and extreme temperatures. For example, cacti, acacias, and various types of succulents have deep root systems that allow them to extract moisture from deep within the soil. Among animals are the fennec fox, a desert fox with large ears that help regulate body temperature, as well as various species of lizards, snakes, and rodents. It is important to note that the Sahara's ecosystems do not exist in isolation. They are closely connected with neighboring zones, the Sahel and the savanna, where the climate becomes more moderate and life more diverse. These transition zones play a key role in maintaining nature's balance and serve as migration routes for many species. Human communities living on the edges of the desert have developed unique ways to adapt to these conditions. The Bedouins, Tuaregs, and other peoples have devised complex systems for collecting and storing water, as well as farming methods that minimize resource consumption. They use seasonal migrations to find pastures for livestock and build traditional dwellings that protect against heat and sandstorms. At the same time, the Sahara is becoming a stage for ecological challenges related to climate change and human activity. Rising temperatures, reduced rainfall, and the expansion of desert areas pose threats to local ecosystems and populations. Deforestation, overgrazing, and pollution of water resources exacerbate degradation processes. In response to these problems, international organizations and local communities are developing conservation, reforestation, and sustainable development programs. Examples include the Great Green Wall initiatives aimed at stopping desert expansion and restoring soil fertility. Such projects have the potential to change landscapes and improve living conditions for millions of people. The Sahara is not just an endless desert. It is a dynamic system that changes and adapts, preserving traces of the past and playing an important role in global ecology. Among the most mysterious aspects of the Sahara are its underground water resources. Beneath the desert sands lie large artesian basins that provide water not only to oases, but also to remote settlements. These underground reservoirs were formed thousands of years ago when the climate was much wetter. The water in them is exceptionally pure and is often used for agriculture and drinking needs of local populations. However, the use of these resources has its limits, as water supplies are gradually being depleted and replenishment occurs very slowly. There are also theories about the possibility of underground rivers and even lakes hidden beneath the sands, which could indicate the existence of a once complete water system. These ideas are supported by modern research using satellite images and radar scans that allow scientists to look beneath the surface and detect large structures invisible to the naked eye. Local legends also speak of underground springs and water spirits guarding these reserves. These stories, though mythical in nature, may contain elements of truth that help us understand how people in the past interacted with nature and valued water resources. The use of underground water is associated with risks such as pollution and over-extraction, which can lead to the loss of sources and changes in ecosystems. Therefore, modern researchers and policymakers are working on developing sustainable methods for managing these resources. Thus, the underground waters of the Sahara are not only a key to survival in the desert, but also an important part of its mysterious history and future. The Sahara Desert is also known for its mysterious climatic phenomena that often intrigue and amaze researchers and travelers. One such phenomenon is dust storms, massive clouds of sand and dust that can cover vast areas spanning hundreds of kilometers. These storms not only create harsh survival conditions, but also influence the climate in neighboring regions and even far beyond Africa. Dust storms form due to a combination of intense heat, dry air, and strong winds that lift fine sand particles into the atmosphere. They can last from a few hours to several days, and their intensity and frequency depend on the season and climatic conditions. During such storms, visibility drops sharply, and the air becomes filled with fine particles that can penetrate the lungs and cause health problems. Besides dust storms, sudden rains and thunderstorms sometimes occur in the Sahara, which, although rare, have significant importance for the ecosystem. These precipitations can temporarily revive the land, providing moisture for plants and animals adapted to such short and intense wet periods. These climatic phenomena are not only challenges, but also part of the natural cycle of the Sahara, shaping its unique landscape and influencing the lives of those who inhabit this harsh region. The Sahara is also a region where mysterious geological processes occur that science has yet to fully uncover. One such phenomenon is the formation of the so-called blue fires, rare light phenomena sometimes observed at night on desert plains. These lights have a bluish or greenish tint and can appear and disappear without apparent cause, inspiring numerous legends and beliefs among local inhabitants. Geologists suggest that these light phenomena may be related to reactions of gases rising from deep underground, such as methane or other volatile compounds. Subterranean gases reaching the surface may ignite from friction of sand grains or other chemical reactions, creating these amazing light displays. However, precise studies and explanations are still lacking. These blue fires are often perceived as manifestations of the supernatural or as signals from unknown forces living in the desert. They add an aura of mystery to the Sahara, prompting researchers to seek answers and uncover its hidden secrets. Studying such phenomena may reveal new knowledge about geochemical processes and the interaction between the Earth's deep layers and the atmosphere, as well as help better understand desert ecosystems. The return of the desert to life is a phenomenon that both puzzles and inspires. The Sahara, the largest hot desert on Earth, known for its endless sands, long has been considered a place where life is impossible, dominated by exhausting heat, lack of water, and vegetation. However, recent studies and observations show that the desert is not a static, unchanging land. It lives, changes, and sometimes surprises us with its ability to regenerate. In recent decades, thanks to technological advances and global climate changes, some parts of the Sahara have begun to turn green again, and where it seemed nothing could grow, life starts to break through. These changes are caused by a complex set of factors. First and foremost, they are connected to natural climate fluctuations. It is known that Earth's climate undergoes cyclical changes over thousands of years. Deserts can expand or shrink depending on rainfall, temperature, and other atmospheric conditions. Historical data indicate that about 6,000 years ago, the territory of today's Sahara was much greener with rivers, lakes, dense vegetation, and rich wildlife. This period is known as the Green Sahara, or the African Humid Period. Gradual warming and drying transformed the region into the desert we know today. However, today some scientific research demonstrates that climatic conditions in the region are changing again. Satellite observations have revealed that the northern and western parts of the desert are showing signs of vegetation regrowth. This process is neither large-scale nor uniform, but it has been repeatedly recorded and studied. Greenery in the desert appears thanks to rare rains formed due to changes in atmospheric flows, as well as to groundwater rising closer to the surface in some areas. This allows shrubs, grasses, and even some tree species, previously thought unable to survive in such harsh conditions, to grow. It is also important to note the significant role of human activity in these processes. Human initiatives aimed at nature, conservation, and restoration have begun to yield initial results. The Great Green Wall of Africa program is gradually halting land degradation, promoting vegetation growth, and improving local communities' living conditions. Tree planting, combating erosion, and encouraging sustainable land use are all part of a comprehensive approach that gives hope that the Sahara may become more fertile again. This process is not only an ecological victory, but also a scientific mystery. How fast can these ecosystems recover? Will it happen within one or several climate cycles? Will the restored landscapes be able to support biodiversity and become habitats for animals and plants? Answers to these questions are still being sought, but it is already clear that the desert is not a dead zone, but a dynamic natural complex. The return of life to the Sahara also has great significance in the fight against global warming. Vegetation absorbs carbon, reduces surface temperature, supports the water cycle, and influences local climatic conditions. If this process spreads, it could become one of the factors mitigating climate change impacts not only in Africa, but worldwide. On the other hand, changes in the Sahara remind us of the fragility of natural systems and the need for responsible stewardship of nature. Loss of vegetation, soil degradation, and biodiversity depletion caused by human activity and natural factors can be partially reversed, but only if conservation and sustainable development measures are implemented. The return of the desert to life is a story of hope, struggle, and human-nature interaction that continues today. It is proof that even in the harshest conditions, life can break through obstacles and recover. The Sahara reminds us that the Earth is a living organism that changes and adapts, and that the future depends on our actions. Modern satellite data open new horizons in studying the changes occurring in the Sahara. Over recent decades, the development of space technologies has enabled scientists to closely monitor vegetation dynamics and climate fluctuations in the region. Analysis of satellite images shows that in several zones along the northern and western edges of the desert, there is a slow but steady increase in green areas. These regions are not traditional oases, where water and plants exist permanently, but rather unique green islands arising due to special climatic and soil conditions. The recovery of vegetation in these zones is associated with sporadic rainfall, which, though rare, is sufficient to initiate the growth of grasses, shrubs, and young trees. In addition, underground waters accumulated during past wetter periods also support this process. Scientists use various spectral indices that track the photosynthetic activity level of plants to measure the scale of this greening. Over the last 20 to 30 years, such data have shown positive dynamics. These green areas are significant not only for nature but also for the people living nearby. They serve as feeding grounds for animals, places for gathering medicinal and edible plants, and potentially as the start of restoring larger ecosystems. At the same time, this process faces challenges. Desert vegetation is very sensitive to climate changes and human activity. The expansion of green zones can be unstable and short-lived if not supported by appropriate conservation measures. Satellite data provide a unique opportunity not only to observe this process in real time, but also to predict its development. Thanks to this, it is possible to plan actions to support vegetation recovery and minimize negative impacts. Overall, satellite research proves that even in the harsh conditions of the Sahara, life is possible, and nature finds ways to adapt and recover, sometimes surprising scientists and inspiring environmentalists. The African Initiative, Great Green Wall, is an ambitious project aimed at combating the spread of the Sahara Desert, land degradation, and hunger in African countries. The idea was to create a strip of vegetation several hundred kilometers wide along the southern border of the desert, stretching from the Atlantic Ocean to the Red Sea. This wall was intended to stop the desert's advance, retain soil, improve climatic conditions, and create conditions for sustainable livelihoods of local communities. Launched in 2007, the initiative unites over 20 countries working together toward a common goal. However, the project's implementation faced numerous challenges from political and economic difficulties to problems accessing water resources and climatic anomalies. Despite this, significant progress has been made in many regions. Millions of trees have been planted, large areas of degraded land have been restored, new jobs have been created, and the role of local communities in nature conservation has been strengthened. The Green Wall has also become a symbol of hope for many Africans. It shows that joint efforts can transform even seemingly doomed lands. This project is also important for the global climate. Vegetation restoration contributes to carbon absorption, maintaining water balance, and lowering air temperature. It can also serve as an example for other regions worldwide facing desertification and climate change. At the same time, the Great Green Wall reminds us of the complexity and duration of ecological restoration processes. The desert does not retreat in one year, and only long-term efforts can yield stable results. It is also important to consider that ongoing climate change creates additional difficulties that must be accounted for in planning further steps. Thus, the African Initiative is a vivid example of how human will, science, and technology can unite to overcome natural challenges and bring life back to land, long considered a merciless desert. Is it possible that the Sahara might one day return to being a fertile region? This question is pondered not only by scientists but also by philosophers, geologists, climatologists, and even futurists. If we look at geological and climatic data, it becomes clear the desert was not always a desert. In the past, it experienced so-called green phases when rainfall transformed it into a land of savannas, rivers, and vast lakes. If this happened before, could it happen again? Scientific data confirms that climate changes on Earth are cyclical. The Earth's orbital fluctuations, known as Milankovitch cycles, affect the amount of solar energy received by the Northern Hemisphere. During periods of increased solar energy, the monsoon zone shifts northward, bringing rain to areas now dominated by dryness. This is how, around 9–10,000 years ago, the Sahara turned green. Some scientists believe we may once again be approaching such a period. Satellite imagery already shows the emergence of green patches on the desert's periphery. Climate computer models that factor in long-term orbital influences also predict the gradual return of rainfall to the region. But this is not the only condition for fertility to return. Human activity, soil depletion, global warming, and local environmental changes also play major roles. Humanity interferes with natural cycles and can either accelerate or hinder the process of natural regeneration. Optimistic forecasts are based on successful examples of agroforestry, artificial irrigation, and projects like the Green Wall. They prove that restoring green landscapes is possible not only through climate cycles but also through deliberate human action. Even if the global cycle doesn't bring about another green Sahara within the next few centuries, people today can already create local pockets of life amid the desert. However, there are opposing views. Some researchers point out that modern climate change is much faster and more unpredictable than the natural cycles of the past. They warn that the revival of the Sahara is not merely a climate issue, but deeply connected with economics, politics, human conflicts, and access to resources. The question remains open. Whether the Sahara will turn green again naturally or with human assistance only, time will tell. But simply knowing that this desert was once a garden inspires many. It speaks to the incredible adaptability of nature and the potential for change even in the harshest conditions. The Sahara is not a frozen symbol of lifelessness, but a living landscape breathing in rhythm with the planet. The Sahara is not just a desert. It is a giant archive that holds the traces of time, life, vanished civilizations, and planetary changes that have occurred over millions of years. Its sands are layers of history, where each grain carries a fragment of Earth's grand narrative. Perhaps it is here that the answers lie to questions humanity does not even yet know how to ask. When we look at the endless dunes, it seems that all we see is silent barrenness. But beneath this sea of sand are hidden treasures not only archaeological, but geological, biological, and meteorological. Scientists studying Saharan dust discover imprints of ancient climate regimes, microfragments of rain-dependent plants, traces of oceanic influence, and even remnants of microorganisms that testify to once abundant life. These sandy expanses may contain the remnants of cultures that predate Egypt. Petroglyphs, burials, building fragments, and mysterious artifacts all suggest that something far greater once existed here than we can presently imagine. Picture a civilization living in harmony with the nature of its time, vanishing without a trace, leaving behind only shadows in the sand. And what if these people possessed knowledge that disappeared with them? The Sahara is a kind of time capsule that opens gradually, depending on how our technologies and approaches to research evolve. What was once inaccessible is now being revealed through satellites, radar, geomagnetic methods, and artificial intelligence. New discoveries each year confirm that we are only at the very beginning of unraveling this desert's secrets. But beyond the scientific lies a philosophical dimension. The Sahara forces us to reflect on the impermanence of all things. Seas can become land, savannas can become deserts, and humanity itself is but a fleeting moment compared to the eternal sands. Yet within this impermanence lies continuity, memory, and the potential for renewal. Perhaps the truth about who we are, where we came from, and where we are going is buried in the sand. And only time, the relentless chronicler of our planet, will reveal these mysteries. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss future videos about the mysteries of our planet.